Public transportation directions could be coming to Apple's mapping app with the iOS 9 update, but is it enough to get users to switch from Google Maps? Joining us now is Kevin Nabapur. He's the Senior Vice President of Content Strategies at Allison & Partners. So Kevin, I remember when Apple Maps first came out, it was a big deal that they replaced Google Maps on their own products. How important is it for Apple to have a mapping app in the first place?
You know, it's tough to say. Honestly, a lot of people in the beginning didn't think it was that important to at the initial state. I mean, look at the system. Everyone really enjoyed Google Maps. Everyone really kind of trained themselves to appreciate that app and rely on that app. And Apple, that wasn't really an area of expertise. And let's not forget, it wasn't consumer demand that demanded Apple get into that space. It was really more of a political jousting fest between Google and Apple. So. They felt they had to have a mapping app. They went ahead and put one out, and obviously there were quite a bit of errors and blunders with what came out in that first release as far as the iOS 6 release. So it's a little surprising to see that it goes in this direction. It's a little surprising to see that it's still important to Apple, but yeah, we'll wait to see if there's any major difference between the experience from the first time around to now.
All right, so Kevin, it's interesting here because Google has developed a pretty decent expertise, if you will, in this whole mapping side of things, right? They've got these different types of directions, including ones for public transportation as well. So how likely is it that Apple may put this public transportation directions function into their map application, and will it be enough to convince people to go from them or from Google Maps to Apple Maps?
I think it's going to be it's an uphill climb for them to be able to justify that they're the provider for this type of information. I think you could see that it's going to be a valuable feature on the Apple Watch. I mean, if you imagine just kind of walking around and being on the go and getting transit updates on your wrist, that makes a lot of sense, and it feels like that would be a really exciting feature. But for it to come from Apple just as something that consumers will have to rely on exclusively, it's going to be a hard climb just because of what you mentioned before, just the reliance that people have on Google, the reliance people have on other navigation apps like Waze when it comes to driving. So you're going to just see that it's going to be met with a little bit of curiosity and skepticism, and we'll just have to see if the experience is going to be better than the first time around.
All right, so smartphones, you could argue it's a duopoly. It's either Google Android or it's Apple iOS, right? So there's two big platforms. Could Apple Maps eventually dominate or get very close to Google Maps, just considering where we are in terms of smartphone trends?
I really don't. I don't think so. I think the advantage still sits with Google here. They've invested in this category when it comes to mapping. They've put a lot of effort, put a lot of time. The cars that go around capturing data. Apple's always been a little bit at a disadvantage in this. They were a little late to the game. It wasn't their area of expertise. And it's just going to be a really sizable challenge for them to be able to overcome not just the disadvantage they have on a global scale with the dominance of Android, but within mapping to be sort of that reliable feature for them on the iOS 9. All
right, so it sounds like, in your opinion, Google's got a pretty big lead and Apple's got a lot of work to do before it can get back to that same level, or if it even does at that point, Kevin, right?
That's right.
All right, so that's it. That's the whole idea. Google Maps and Apple Maps, maybe Google Maps has the big lead. Kevin Nabapur, thank you so much for joining us here. That was Kevin Nabapur. He's the Senior Vice President of Content Strategies at Allison & Partners. And thanks for watching The Tech Bet. I'm Dominic Chu. Have a great day.
Hey YouTube fans, I'm Landon Downey from CNBC. Thanks so much for checking out our channel. Here you'll find videos packed with all the info that you need to be smarter about your finances. Be sure and subscribe by clicking right here, and click on all the videos around me to see CNBC's original series Young Money, Tech Bet, Kramer's Mad Money, and all the latest from CNBC.